Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our program. My name is Helen Liu, and I'm the Programming and Partnerships Manager at Cary Library. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank the Cary Library Foundation. Their support enables us to bring programs like today's event to you. I would also like to thank the public libraries in Ashland, Bedford, Belmont, Groton, Maynard, and Needham for partnering with us on this program. Today, Jennifer Hay will talk about AI-powered productivity, unleashing your potential with innovative AI tools. This program is being recorded and will be posted to the library's YouTube channel. If you have any questions, please submit them to the Q&A or chat, and Jennifer will answer them at the end of the program. Last year, Jennifer presented two programs for our Ashland Public Library on the topic of unleashing your potential with AI technology, igniting productivity, creativity, and wellness, part 1 and 2. You can view these recordings on our YouTube channel, which is linked directly to the Ashland Public Library's recordings. The Cary Library series with Jennifer takes a deeper dive into these tools that she talked about in those previous presentations. Please join us on March 21st, April 18th, and May 23rd for more programs in this AI series. So now I'd like to introduce our speaker. Jennifer Hay is a visionary tech entrepreneur known for her expertise in web design and development, particularly in the nonprofits, libraries, education, arts, and higher education industries. She has experience working on complex web design and usability projects for notable organizations such as Smith College, Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, Boston Arts Academy, Newton Free Library, and the Harvard NASA Data System. With a passion for solving real-world problems, she leverages cutting-edge technologies to make a creative and impactful difference. Her captivating web designs facilitate seamless communication and enhance customer service experiences, empowering organizations to amplify their impact. Jennifer's contributions in the library sector have been remarkable as she leads technology classes, organizes innovative technology conferences that focus on cutting-edge AI and virtual reality technologies, and revolutionizes knowledge sharing by advocating for the development of virtual AI technology spaces and virtual makerspaces. She collaborates with cultural organizations such as the Boston Kids Comics Fest and the Chinese Association of Western Massachusetts to enhance digital platforms, merging technology and artistic vision to foster a deeper appreciation for diverse perspectives. As the founder of WebGlow AI, Jennifer's inspirational leadership propels the company's mission to empower diverse communities, encourage them to pursue greater technological achievements, and create a lasting impact. Welcome, Jennifer. We are so excited to get started.
Oh, thank you so much, Helen. And I want to thank Cary Library for having me speak today on AI. And I also want to thank everyone who's watching this presentation right now. I'm so excited to talk about AI tools today. So Helen did such a great job talking about, my vision and my work. I'll just say that I've been a web designer for about 15 years. I've worked for higher ed, libraries, art institutions, and nonprofits. I have a lot of experience teaching about complex technology to both students and librarians. And then I did recently found AI related company where we offer web design packages and we also teach AI. So I want to start off with a story, and basically I'm going to ask myself this question. I'm going to ask you all this question. How has AI changed your life? When I first got started with AI, it was about a year ago, and I was using an image generator tool called Midjourney, and I was so excited about it. I was using this image generator tool to make graphics, and I felt like the graphics were really strong, they were beautiful, and they were really able to make my website and web designs like look so much better. But then after I had done this for a while, I was followed by a period of, I would say, disillusionment. And we actually see this a lot with using modern technologies where you're really excited at first and you love using the technology. But then there's like a period of disillusionment where you realize, oh, maybe this wasn't as great as I thought. And for me, it wasn't so much about the tools, it was more about all the copyright issues that were involved. There ended up becoming more lawsuits. There's actually a lawsuit against Midjourney. And then I also saw a lot of strong negative feelings about AI, particularly among writers and people who had done illustration work. This graphic right here was actually a comic book that was created using a lot of AI, and a lot of comic book illustrators and authors in the comic book community were really disappointed because the Copyright Office actually gave this book copyright privileges, but they said they wouldn't copyright the art because the art was not created by a person, it was created by an AI tool. And so one of the interesting things about this is I think there are artists and illustrators and writers who are kind of disappointed about copyright for AI, and they would rather like this comic book not be copyright have copyright privileges at all. They would rather just it not have any of those copyright privileges. And in a way, it really does it because AI, in order for something to be copyright in America, it has to be created by a person, not an AI. But AI does definitely brings up a lot of like legal concerns, security concerns. So today I'm still excited about AI. I still love exploring the tools. I still love using them, but I believe I have a more conservative approach where in the beginning, when I first got started with I was just really, really excited. And I don't think I was able to see the full picture. And now I kind of see the full picture more clearly. And so I'm really excited today to explain to you sort of like the good, the bad, and the ugly with using these tools. And also when we open this up for Q&A, I want to encourage people to really share their honest feedback and thoughts about AI. Just because I teach about these tools doesn't mean that I'm not well aware of negative feelings about them or, issues. And so please feel free to just tell me what your honest thoughts are. And they don't always have to be positive. So a little bit about my company. I started a web design and AI teaching company, and we do a lot of work with creating custom websites for different organizations. We do a lot of work with WordPress. I also I still do a lot of graphic design for both print and web projects. And then we've expanded into a lot of like AI tools consulting. We do a lot of like teaching workshops, and then we're even branching out into doing more staff development. So I broke this presentation down into three main sections. First, I'm going to do a basic intro of AI. Then I'm going to talk about AI assistants, particularly for like content creation and editing tools. Then we're going to focus more on task and project management tools. And then we're going to follow it, kind of like wrap things up with talk about AI tools for presentations, some brainstorming, and really cool like collaborative working tools. So now we're going to dive into the introduction, and we're going to talk about like just kind of a basic definition of AI. How does it work? We're going to talk a little bit about general versus narrow AI, and then some pros and cons. So basic definition of AI, I really like this definition. It says artificial intelligence leverages computers and machines to mimic the problem solving and decision-making capabilities of the human mind. So some examples that we're all sort of familiar with are self-driving cars. We know that there's like AI in a car that's, hopefully gonna help us drive and not get us into an accident. There's been a lot of AI integrations into natural language processing, which is basically translating text from one language to another. We see AI integrated into online shopping. So an example of this would be if you're on Amazon and Amazon tells you that they are recommending some products for you, chances are there was AI that's going into those recommendations. Then we're also seeing more AI integration into social media platforms. And that basically looks like they're using AI to put actual like social media in your feed, and it's sort of based on preferences and content you've looked at in the past. So I think it's really important to define general versus narrow AI. Right now, there's a lot of news and a lot of people like on YouTube and influencers talking about AI, and they're talking about it in a way that I think is rather confusing, where people think we are more in a general AI world. And so what general AI looks like is it basically looks like if we had AI, but it was much more advanced than it is now. And so you could think about a robot that has AI, but the robot is very human-like. So it has like a very human-like intelligence. It's able to like reason. It has some sort of like level of consciousness. And what I've noticed in the media is that they're using this sort of general AI, this idea, which is like very sci-fi, to scare us into thinking that AI is smarter or more capable than it is. The truth is, right now, we are in like an it's called narrow AI world, another way of talking about saying machine learning. And the AI is very, very narrow in what it can do. And so some of the characteristics of this is that it has like limited learning ability, no common sense reasoning. It's very, very domain specific. One way I think about it, which I don't think is the best example, but I think it's one way of looking at it, is it's almost like thinking about it like a calculator, where a calculator is able to perform a mathematical equation, which is a very narrow task, and is able to do that pretty well, and is able to do it faster than a human. But then you can't ask your calculator to like make a phone call for you. You can't ask it to do anything else, right? And so in the same, like thinking along the same lines, just remember it's not able to have self-improvement. It's able to improve a little bit over time, but it's not able to improve the way like a human can improve. It has no consciousness. This is not human at all. This is literally computer programming in a really, really narrow, specific domain. And so it's going to have like limited creativity. It's going to have difficulty with novelty. One of the things that really um, divides like the current state of AI that we're in to more general AI is that the AI that we deal with today does not have any long-term memory. And some um, software engineers say that that's actually one of the things that's keeping AI from actually going from narrow AI to general AI, the fact that AI does not have long-term memory. So how does AI technology work? So the truth is it's really complicated. And so I try to condense this to make it understandable for people. But one of the ways that it works is you have to think about it as like a program, like computer programming, like a programming language. And it's built to perceive an environment. So it's like taking in data, it's detecting patterns, and then it's updating and trying to understand and make decisions based on this process of perceiving environment, detecting patterns, and then it's going to like make decisions. So an example of this is if we were to try to create a dog door and we use AI to scan an animal face, let's say, and slowly over time, we're hoping that it will get better. So maybe in the beginning, it's going to scan and just be able to detect, oh, I think this is an animal, or I think this is just like leaves blowing past my door. And then with more time and more iterations, it's going to get better and better. And so it's going to be able to say, oh, that's a squirrel face versus a dog, or that's my dog's face versus my neighbor's dog's face. And it's going to let my dog in the door, right? And so that's what we're talking about when that's like an example of training a data model to get better and better over time. And so if you want to learn more about I do recommend two free resources. The first one is Elements of AI, and it's a free course you can take. It's self-paced, and it basically takes you through like kind of a philosophical introduction. And then if you want to keep going, you could actually learn how to build an AI. I believe it's with Python. The second one that I really love is machine learning course. It's on Coursera and it's by Andrew Ng. And it's a little bit different. He talks more about how AI teams actually engineer and design AIs. And he talks about the ethical considerations that go into it. So I highly recommend it. These are both free, and I really do recommend you check them out. So what are some pros and cons? Well, some major pros of AI is that it's just super efficient. Um, it is able to solve real world problems. It can have some decision making ability. It can make really good predictions, particularly when you're using a data set that's mathematical. It can make pretty good predictions. There can be a cost savings, and there's some sort of creative potential. But of course, the cons are that it's not perfect. There's privacy concerns. There's job replacement concerns for sure. There's issues with misinformation. We have copyright concerns with it. There's definitely potential bias, and that's actually like a fundamental issue with all AI models is that there's bias there. And then, of course, there's safety and security risks. One way that I look at this, honestly, is I look at the content that AI tools generate is going to be um, an imitation, like a watered down or not so great imitation of a human person's work. And so that's something to consider when you are considering using an AI tool or not, because I try to advise people that if you want a premium product, if you want, expert advice, if you want it to be perfect, it's probably better to outsource that test to a person and not an AI tool. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. And so here's my best practices when using AI. First, I think it's important to understand how the tool works and sort of understand the perimeters so that you're not trying to ask one AI tool to do something that it just really can't do or sort of outside the realms of what it can handle. When you're actually typing in a prompt to an AI tool, it helps to be really specific. We recommend to never enter sensitive or personal data. And one reason why is because although AI tools do not have long-term memory, they do store the data that you enter into it in some capacity. So somebody actually could go back and try to retrieve that data. It's not impossible to do that. Try to have realistic expectations when you're using these tools. So understand that they're not perfect. I always encourage people to test and kind of like keep iterating because oftentimes what an AI generates is not going to be perfect. And so you kind of have to keep going until you get it to be like something that you really want, which is why AI tools are really dependent on people. They're dependent on people in the beginning to write the prompts, and they're also dependent on people with like the output of evaluating what the AI tool generated and making sure that it's good, and maybe making modifications to it. Be aware of ethical and legal considerations because there are a lot with these tools. Um, be intentional about the amount of content you create. These tools can create a lot of content really quickly, so you don't want to be drowning in content. I would also say avoid AI creep or try to avoid AI creep. And what I mean by this is it's really tempting to start trying to match up like every task that you maybe don't like doing or just a lot of different tasks to different AI tools and say, oh, I'm going to have AI tools do all these tasks for me. But I think that you have to remember each AI tool is probably really good for like one specific task. And, do you really want to be having like all of these different tools that you're trying to keep a track of, like really be aware of using it in a strategic way. And then again, if the task is too complex and you want a premium result, like you want a perfect result, I would say don't use the AI tool. And because AI tools typically do really good with narrow and specific tasks, if the task is too complex, you can try using an AI tool. An example of this that we're going to show is actually creating a presentation with AI. You'll see how when the task becomes broad, the AI, what it can do is more limited, and you're going to need to have a person work on that more because the AI tool is just, it's not at the technological point yet where it's going to really be able to handle those complex tasks well. So I would say just be really mindful of that, and you might want to just outsource it to a person rather than using the tool. So now we're going to talk about AI assistants, content creators, and editing tools. And before I get started, I just want to let everybody be aware that I typically, when I pick tools, I like to pick tools that are free or have a free version because I like people to be able to try them without having to commit to payment. And then another thing I think is important for me to say is that I do not have any partnerships or brand deals with any of these tools. So I really am giving you my honest advice. And also, I do vet all of these tools to make sure that they're actually, solid, and I really like them, and I think that, um, they're gonna do a good job for what you're looking for. I do get the question a lot because there's so many tools now on the market. If I was to have somebody focus on just one tool, what would I choose? And that would be ChatGPT. There's many reasons for that, but I think it's just really powerful and it's able to do a really good job with a lot of tasks. Sometimes ChatGPT actually can be down. So in that case, I recommend this one called AI, sort of like a ChatGPT replacement. There's another one that's called AI, which is really good for brainstorming and writing sort of general content. Gemini is a great tool. It's the rebranding of Google's Bard, but it's a very, very capable AI model. And I believe we're gonna see more AI sort of embedded in a lot of the Google, like, suite tools that, a lot of people are already familiar with, like Google Docs. I found some really interesting tools this time around. One was called Tiger, and it's like an AI assistant, but it's supposed to be financial assistant to be able to give financial advice. There's a tool called GitHub Code Pilot, which is supposed to be a coding assistant. Another tool I found was called Ava, and it's a free interview coach. And then there's this other one called Yum News, which is a free news assistant app, which is supposed to like feed you news that it's like thinking that you're probably going to be interested in. So there's a lot of really cool AI writing tools on the market, and a lot of them are sort of marketed to do different things. A lot of people like Notion AI, it has a lot of collaborative wikis and docs. There's another one called Write Sonic, which is like a writing, copywriting, and paraphrasing tool. Copysmith does a lot of SEO optimized content, which can be really important for people in business and also people that are doing web design. I really liked this tool called Aim Reply because it's a free AI tool for crafting emails. Jasper is a tool that's been out for a while, and it's really, really good for creating like targeted emails or consistent writing across like a lot of platforms that's consistent with a particular like brand voice. Then I also really liked this free tool. It's called It Comes, and it's for making press releases. And basically, it was like a generator where it had a form and you would like fill out different questions. And then at the end, it would generate a whole press release for you. So I really love this tool called Perplexity, and I wanted to try to show it. Let's see. I believe it looks like it worked. It looks like it jumped to this window. Okay. So right now I'm on the Perplexity AI tool. I like this one because I kind of feel like it's like ChatGPT on steroids a bit. Um, let's see. Where knowledge begins. So basically I'm just going to type anything into this prompt. Let me type AI copyright concerns. And then you'll see it will give me like a whole bunch of sources. And if I click on them, they'll take me out to a different area of the web. Then it gives me an answer. And then I really love this part where it gives me some related questions. And then it gives me, I can search images, I can search videos, and then the pro version, I can actually generate an image. If you create an account with Perplexity, I believe you can save um, all of the like questions and the answers, like the content that you generate. Then it has this really cool like discover feature where it's giving you a lot of different articles. So I was really impressed with this tool. All right, now I'm going to talk a little about AI image generators. The really big one on the market right now is Midjourney, and it does give you some free images. I think this is one of the best image generators, in my opinion, for like the quality of image that it produces. Another one that's popular, it's open source and it's free, is Dolly, and I believe it's run by OpenAI. Stable diffusion is interesting because it has a way that you can take the images and actually turn them into animations or videos. And then I also like to talk about Dream Up because it's created by DeviantArt, and it's marketed as a more responsible way to create these image generators, generated art, because it's actually the data set was trained on was using artist art with their permission. Some of my favorite AI grammar and editing tools, I really love Grammarly, and I've been using it for a while, and Grammarly has like more AI embedded into it. There's another tool called WordTune, which is really great for like rewriting and shortening content. Pro Writing Aid is for making more like evaluation reports. There's another tool called Language Tool, and it's actually a free writing tool for multilingual writers. There's another tool that's sort of interesting, and I've seen like more and more of these tools crop up. It's called Humanize It. And you're basically taking AI produced writing and you're putting it into Humanize It to make that writing seem more human, which is kind of interesting. And then another tool I really love is called DeepL, because a lot of people ask me if there's any tools on the market that do multilingual translation with AI. Some people say, or I've heard, that DeepL It's becoming better than Google Translate. I don't really know for sure, but it has a part of it that can do AI edit. So, and it's free. So I really do love that tool. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about AI task and project management tools. We're going to talk about meeting assistants and transcribers. I'm going to talk about this one feature tool that I really like. We're going to talk about scheduling tools and goal setting tools. So this area is a little bit tricky to find free tools in because oftentimes with scheduling and like creating like to-do lists and stuff in this industry, oftentimes I've noticed um, a lot of the softwares, they actually really do want to charge you. And so it's like a little bit harder for me to find free tools, but tried really hard. So for instance, I really like Fireflies. It's a collaborative and topic tracking tool for meetings, but it costs money. And so then I found this one called NoteSense, which is a free tool that takes notes from users' voice, which I think is really important because I'm in a lot of meetings and we are always asking people like, oh, could you be like the communications person and transcribe this meeting for us? But that's a lot of work. And so I was really excited to find NoteSense. There's another tool that's gaining in popularity called Parrot.ai. It's a meeting transcriber and it does have a free version, although it is like limited functionality. And then I'm seeing a rise in Fathom.ai, which is a meeting note taker and transcriber. And it actually does more than that. Like it will tell you things about the dynamics of how a meeting went. It's actually available in through Zoom in the paid version of Zoom, and then I believe it also works through Google Meets. So some kind of cool project planning, scheduling, productivity tools. There's this one called Dola, which is supposed to create a stress-free schedule. They're offering kind of like early access to try it out. Agenda Hero is a free AI assistant that turns your agenda into a calendar. Motion is an AI assisted project management tool with a free trial. Trevor is really cool. It's a free AI like tool for task management. Scheduler AI is like another management tool for kind of like busy teams. This tool called Docspedia I was really impressed with because it lets you upload a PDF document for free and you can ask it questions. So it's like sort of analyzing the document. So it's like a real time saver. And then just for fun, I found this one called Be Done, and it turns your to-do list into like a fun game. And there's a free trial, and I was having a lot of fun playing around with that. So then I really like this free app called Coach Me because it lets you like set goals and tracks your progress, and it's using AI to help kind of like coach you and help you stay on track. This one called Habitica, I also think it's a lot of fun because it's a way for you to set goals and create like a to-do list, but it's a gamified version of it. So it lets you create an avatar. And then as you're basically checking off like your to-do list, it's giving you awards. So it's trying to like make it fun. And then you can like set up quests and I'm actually going to show this tool on the next slide. Then there's another one called Fabulous. It's an AI powered app that helps you like set and achieve goals for your life. And it's focusing on health, happiness, productivity, and relationships. So this is what the Habitica like user interface looks like. And so how it starts is it basically asks you a whole bunch of questions about yourself and it lets you build this avatar. You can design it the way you want. And then what it does, because of course, creating your whole like to-do list is a complex task. So it just creates, and it's trying to save you time. It creates sort of this like really quick, oh, what are some tasks it's recommending for you to do for habits and the daily activities and then to-dos. And then of course it's giving the user a lot of control to modify these things, get rid of them or change it around. And then the fun thing is as you click on these different things, it's giving you rewards. And then you can play this with other people. So you could like create a party or you could ask other people to join quests. And so, like I said, it's just a really, really fun way to um, make your to-do list less boring and more motivating. So now we're going to dive into using AI for presentations and brainstorming and other collaborative working tools. When I was at Ashland, somebody asked me if it was possible um, to use AI for creating presentations. And at the time I said no, because I didn't know of anything on the market that would actually do that. But the truth is, since then, there actually are some really great presentation makers, excuse me, that have some AI embedded in them. But just keep in mind that when you're trying to build a presentation, that is a complex task. And so normally what we see here is that it's going to save you time by sort of laying out a general presentation for you, but chances are you're going to have to go in and do some heavy editing on it. So although I find these tools exciting and I imagine in the future they're just going to get better and better and better, I personally do not use them to make my own presentations right now. Now, 3 years from now, if they get much better, I probably would. Um, this one that I really was impressed with is called SlidesGo. SlidesGo is a really great presentation maker and like template builder just in and of itself, but they have a new like AI sort of like magic functionality where you can type in what you're looking for in a presentation and it will like spit out sort of a basic like generic presentation for you. And then there's another one called Visme, which is you're having a conversation with an AI chatbot to create like the stunning slide deck. And it's sort of the same thing where, it's going to give you sort of a nice like template or a nice like place to get started, but be prepared to do extensive editing to the slide deck. And then another one is called beautiful.ai, which again, it's sort of the same thing. It's creating beautiful slides for you in minutes. But again, be prepared to do a lot of work on these. So here's kind of like a basic overview of SlidesGo. This part right here on the left is what it looks like in the beginning. And so you put your topic in, and then you can say what writing tone, the amount of slides, and then you can pick a style. So for this one, I put something along the lines of, I want to create an AI presentation for technology. And I believe I chose the minimalist business. And then this right here on the right was the output. And you can see that it created like a really, really basic image with, it created this title for me. I did not make any modifications to this because I wanted people to see just sort of how basic this was. It gave me some text and sort of what it thought for the slides. Of course, if I was actually going to use this, I would be doing like so much modification on it, which is why, to be really honest, I don't use these yet. But like I said, in the future, if they become more sophisticated, I might try it. Another tool I was really impressed with is called Lucid Spark because it's a collaborative whiteboard that has AI integration. And Lucid Spark gives you 3 editable whiteboards for free. And it just seemed like such a fun tool for like prototyping, brainstorming. I would highly recommend this. Some other cool tools for collaboration. So in the like collaborative workspace, again, that's like another thing that we're getting into the realm of more complex. What I've noticed is that there's like an industry trend to take already existing platforms. Like one might be Trello, and Trello is like a digital like workplace for you to come up with like product management. Um, like you do a lot of product management stuff in Trello, but then you can invite like your coworkers to collaborate with you. So what we see a lot is like on Trello or on, Slack, that we're seeing more and more AI integration. So sort of making those tools better and smarter. So right now Trello has a AI integration for like their docs, and they have like a free version of that. There's another one called Duet AI, which integrates with Google Workspace. And it's basically making Google Docs and Gmail um, more efficient in that you could actually have AI do like some of the writing and content creation for you. And then, like I said, Slack, if you're not familiar with Slack, it's a project management tool. And so there's like a pilot AI that's going to be built in to sort of make Slack better, basically creating content for you. Um, and then Zoom, like I said, it has that AI companion that's sort of like doing some just transcribing for you. And that was called Fathom. We already discussed that. And then also we see this on Canva. If you're not familiar with Canva, Canva is like a free editing software. It's a watered down version, I would say, of like Adobe. You can't do as much as you could do like on Adobe, but a lot of people use it for graphic design. And um, so the interesting thing about Canva though is it's very collaborative in that you can invite other people to work on whatever you're working on. And so we're seeing more and more AI integrations on Canva. They have like a magic suggest area, which helps save time because you could ask it if you're working on something and you have like a font, a main font, let's say, you could ask it like, oh, what font would you pair with this main font? So it's very time saving. And then also it has its own like image generator built into the platform. So the call to action here is that I really like the website topaitools.com. It has a lot of different AI tools. It's a little bit like the Wild West of AI tools in that they put so many different tools on there. I like to go on and look through free tools and like test them out. And that's actually how I get a lot of ideas for these presentations. But I would definitely suggest that you try to add some AI tools to your workflow. You could go on topaitools.com. You could also try out some of the tools that I recommended today. And also, like I was explaining, try to do it in a way that makes sense for you. I would personally be wary of giving AI a job that I would probably want to hand off to a coworker. I think AI does a really, really great job with those like more narrow, like limited tasks, but definitely for some like policy writing, um, sort of like that generic writing that you really need that can start becoming cumbersome. I to definitely would outsource some of that to AI. So now I'm going to end the presentation with a quote from Andrew Ng. He says, despite all the hype and excitement about AI, it's still extremely limited today relative to what human intelligence is. And I think it's important to highlight that truth and that although AI is extremely exciting and I love diving into these tools and sharing them with you all, it is really important to know, like I said, how dependent these tools are still on, humans using them. And then also I hate making the comparison between AI tools and humans, so I don't think it's a fair comparison at all. But if we are going to make that comparison, then really there is no comparison. Because although AI tools create content in a highly efficient way, it's just never going to stack up to what a human is capable or of doing, or also like, what a person can think of. It's just it can't do that right now. So thank you. We're going to open it up for Q&A. Feel free to ask me anything. I really love these Q&As. I always learn so much from you all. And if you ever have any questions, you want to reach out to me, my email is info@webglowai.com.
Thank you, Jennifer. So we do have some questions.
Okay.
They were
Okay.
saying, if you had any thoughts on AI mobile tools, and if you were to use those, what should people pay for them?
Yeah, so actually I believe even some of the tools I shared today are apps. So they're, supposed to, like they only work on mobile. Um, I would say that I am always weary of paying for a tool right up front because I really want to make sure that it's actually going to live up to what it's promising. And so I really love free tools or what they would call freemium, where it's like they're giving you a little bit for free so you can try it out first. So I I feel like I can't really, you know, like I would just recommend like do what feels comfortable to you. I feel like in general, a lot of tools for mobile tend to be a little bit more affordable than like the softwares that I see that do more like heavy lifting online. Um, but if there's something that you're thinking about and it costs money, that's like a substantial amount of money, I would actually reach out to the developer, like the sales team, and ask if there's a way you could like try before you buy. Um, and then another thing, I know I didn't talk about this too much, but just to be aware that the landscape of AI is such that we see a lot of AI tools that are sort of here today, gone tomorrow. And I think a part of that is that there's been a lot of hype about AI, a lot of excitement. There's a lot of early adopters that want to use these tools. But then at the end of the day, AI has to have like a sustainable business model. They have to build trust with customers. And so we just see a lot of like tools that come on the market and then they can't sustain themselves. So that, so just be aware of that. And that's also why when I evaluate AI tools, I also try to look at kind of the bigger picture of, the business that's running it. And, can I really trust this tool? Is this tool going to be around for a while? So I kind of look at the whole thing. So I would encourage you to look at the whole thing.
Thank you. And someone asked, what do you recommend for project management?
Project management. Well, I personally have had a lot of good experience with Trello and Slack, and I like the AI integrations that are in those tools. And then I also can see like this trend where in those project management tools, there's probably going to be more and more AI integrations. I know I shared some AI project management tools on these slides, but like I said, it's a little bit tricky because oftentimes in that space, they really want to charge you money. So it's harder to find really, really good free tools. I have heard really, really good things about Fireflies for a project management tool. But personally, I tend to stick more with tools that are tried and true and I know work really well. So I've done a lot of project management myself using Slack and Trello. And then I just use the AI integration that's already in that tool.
Thanks. And someone
Yeah.
asked a question about, is there any good AI tools for learning a language?
Yeah, that's interesting. So actually I haven't like delved into that too much. If you go on that top AI tools .com website that I recommend, there are a lot of tools like that. And I've noticed there more and more learning tools with AI are cropping up. And so it's like everything from flashcards to tools that will help students like study for exams. So that area is definitely growing. I have not like personally found or looked at a tool with AI integration that will help you learn language, but I will say that I was super, super impressed with that one tool that I shared that's like the rival to Google Translate. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a tool that you probably can find on Top Tools AI, that is what you're looking for. So I would definitely encourage you to try to search for that.
Thank you. Can you talk a little more about general versus narrow? As you just said, AI is not yet capable of what humans can do, but I feel that movies like iRobot have left general public with feeling that AI is general and not narrow, as I believe you said we are today. Is that right? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that does make sense. And actually, to be honest, I get discouraged when I hear people in the media who I think should know better, famous people like Elon Musk, saying things that are, I think, really trying to incite fear in people. I have watched a lot of videos myself on this topic, and I feel like one of the things that's like come to my mind is I think sometimes when these experts are talking about AI, they are talking about it in a way that sounds like we are in a more of a general AI world. But I think what they mean, but they're not being clear, is that we are heading in that direction. But then when you actually talk to like a real engineer who's in the field, somebody like Andrew Ng, for instance, they will make it so clear that we are not anywhere near general AI for like a multitude of reasons. I've heard engineers tell me that it's because of the long-term memory thing. I've heard engineers tell me that it's simply a matter of not being able to give an AI or a robot the amount of power that it would need to become more like a general AI. Um, and so it's hard for me to make predictions because I um I don't have a crystal ball and I can't say like when exactly like at what point would we be more in a general AI world, right? but I can tell you that, I put trust in engineers who um, are really smart and well educated, and they're actually working with these AIs every single day. And they will assure you that we are in a like a narrow AI space right now. We are not in a general AI space.
Thank you. I think this is more of a comment. I see Facebook has started using AI.
Yep.
In scientific or academic writing, will AI provide correct reference attributions for quotes?
Yes. Yeah, that's tricky. So that's where we get into an area where I would tell people to be cautious, because you have to remember um I think so AI can be really helpful for like pointing you in the right direction, or sort of being like a loose guide, right? But we can't expect perfection from it. So that's why I say AI right now is heavily dependent on people, and it's heavily dependent on people to create like the prompts and then also evaluate the content at the end. And so I've talked to reference librarians who have told me that they've asked difficult reference questions to an AI chatbot like ChatGPT, and it always gives you an answer that seems like the right answer and it seems plausible, but it actually is not accurate. Another example of this actually is in the coding industry, because I heard that GitHub made a policy that they do not want people to post answers. I'm sorry, not GitHub, Stack Overflow. They do not want people to post programming answers on Stack Overflow that were created by ChatGPT or any AI, because right now there's, I guess, like a huge amount of wrong answers that seem plausible, but they are not, like they don't really work, and they're making it so that Stack Overflow is like inundated with answers that they have to go over to figure out if it's really right or not, but chances are it's not right. Um, and so I think that what I've learned is that, AI, these tools are fun and they're really great to use and they can save you a lot of time, but you can't trust the accuracy of the answer. And then the reason why it can dupe you is because it's always going to create an answer that seems plausible, but it really might not be 100% correct. So with the kind of thing like you're talking about with like the annotations, I would be weary. Like it really might be right, and it might be mostly right, it might be 90% right, but I would still check. I would still do the hard work of to make sure that it's right. And then of course there are instances in our work where being 100% right isn't necessary. And in those cases, I would say maybe it's okay to use the tool. But oftentimes, particularly with something like creating a bibliography, like we really want to make sure that it's accurate, right? So that's why I would say be cautious with that.
Yeah, and I think this question is
Yeah.
something that we all have in mind is what happens to the information you enter into an AI tool? If you put some
Yeah.
content you created into an AI tool, does the developer use that information?
Yep.
Is it possible that the content will become available to others?
Yep. Yep. So that, yeah. Yeah. So that actually is one of the main issues against image generators, because image generators, and I'll use Midjourney as an example, allow you to upload an image and you can upload it, like hopefully you're being responsible and you're using your own image. But technically speaking, we could copy any image online and we could upload it to the image generator. And then of course the image generator is going to like reconfigure it and shoot out like another image that's somehow based on the image that you uploaded. But we know that the image generator or any AI generator is saving the thing that you uploaded. And not only is it saving the thing that you uploaded, but it's also saving the output. Which is why Midjourney says that it shares copyright with the creator, because they, particularly with the output. So for instance, if I created a dog picture on Midjourney, I own some of that copyright, but then Midjourney owns some of that copyright. So Midjourney could actually take that dog picture and they're allowed to use it in like promotional stuff. They're allowed to use it any way that they want. So that's why we tell people do not um put like any type of any personal information or anything that you don't want into an AI. But one of the reasons we tell people to do that is because it is possible for somebody else to go in if they're savvy enough and retrieve that information because there is like a copy of that information in the data model. So that is a concern. It's a security concern, it's a privacy concern, and it's a copyright concern. And I think that um, this is sort of unfolding what's going to happen with these things, and I'm not sure from a legal perspective exactly what's going to happen, or if these AI tools are just going to have to be a lot better about like the disclaimer. So in other words, maybe you have to like click a box before you use an AI tool saying that you know you are kind of giving away some of that privacy, right, or whatever it is, right? um but yeah, it's a concern, something to be aware of.
Yeah, and as a follow-up to
Yeah.
that question, do you
Yeah.
see the privacy protections evolving fast enough?
um That's a hard one to answer. I think yes and no. I feel like the second stuff starts becoming like legislative related, it's always too slow. Um, I think some of the lawsuits, I mean, it's tricky. I think that, there have been some backpedaling on some of this stuff that I think actually like it what did happen at an appropriate time. But it's hard for me to answer that completely because I feel like legislation, it just in general kind of always moves too slow. So Um, perhaps my answer on that would be that it it's not moving fast enough, honestly, but I don't know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you have any knowledge about Nova AI?
Um, I don't. I mean, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any good tools for job search?
I've heard about some of the, so I would check on the top aitools.com. There's definitely more and more cropping up for sure. I saw some really cool ones and I think I added one in my slides that was for like interview practice, and there's like coaching related ones and like resume. That's a really really fun and exciting space that I would recommend people like research and look more into.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And someone asked, do you have any AI recommendations for teachers?
Yeah, again, go on the top aitools.com because there's a lot of learning tools. And there's actually a couple that are specifically for kids for learning AI. I don't know if that's an area of interest. There's a website called AIY that's been developed by Google. Um, and they have a lot of like learning tools where they explain AI specifically like more for kids. But they have these really cool like makerspace robots that have a really cool like cardboard feel. And what it is it's like a kit that you can buy, and it's so that children can learn how to build an AI. And then also it's very open-ended. So a child could um, build something and decide what they wanted the AI to do. So if they wanted the AI to be able to like perceive people's faces and like label them, it's really, really cool. So I would definitely recommend that. I've also seen some other ones that have been really cool. Um, there's a like it's not coming to my mind, but there's like a software that um is teaching children AI, and I believe it pairs with Scratch. And so there's a lot of development that's sort of happening in the whole like teaching, learning, and also teaching children AI.
So there's another question about
Yeah.
if you have an awareness of AI being used in life or career development coaching. I don't know if that's also another.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Yeah. So actually, that's sort of where some of my AI tool work began. because there's a tool called Replica, which is an AI assistant, and it's marketed as an AI assistant who cares. And when you go on, you build an avatar, and the avatar talks to you and makes a relationship with you sort of over time. And then it can become coaching, it could become counseling. When I first did it, I had like a mixture of love and hate with it because on one hand, I was surprised that it was so human-like or human-like feeling. Um, and I remember at one point I was having a conversation with with this AI assistant, and she randomly gave me an article she thought I would like, and it felt so human when she like randomly. So I was like, wow, this is so impressive. Um, and then she was like trying to coach me on business and stuff. But then immediately I realized, oh, this is just an AI because I asked her, can you give me another article like that? And she goes, oh, yeah, I totally will. And then she never followed through, right? So it's interesting because there's more and more AI tools that are being developed in that space where they're claiming, oh, I could coach you, I could help you, I could be like a makeshift counselor for you. But you have to remember at the end of the day, it's not a human and it's not perfect. And so I have mixed feelings about it because although I could definitely see the potential there, particularly for people who maybe don't have access to counseling or don't have access to business coaching, I definitely also see how it's not a person. And if you truly want really great advice, it's probably better to hire an actual real business coach, right? But yeah, that's definitely an area that's actively being developed. And if you're interested, I would recommend you go on Replica and try it out because it is really interesting. And one of the things I liked about Replica was it had a lot of areas where you could journal and it would like save your journal prompts. So it's kind of interesting because it doesn't just have the interaction with the AI, but it's also sort of like a fun way to journal or a fun way to like do self-reflection.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share, I know that my slides have a lot of links to different tools. And so I always share my slides so that people can access them, go through them, access all the links.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to combine this question because I'm sure plenty of people use AI to write cover letters. And so someone asked if they should do so. And if so, can recruiters see that you've used a AI tool to create the cover letter?
Yeah. So eh, recruiters can see it because there are free tools online, and anyone has access to these free tools where you can take text that an AI bot created and you can paste it into the tool, and the tool will tell you if the content was generated by a human or an AI tool. And so recruiters can see that. Um, I don't feel like I should give specific advice on this. But what I will say, and one reason is because I am very aware that in certain industries, cover letters aren't really read and might not even be necessary. Um, but what I'll say about it is I feel more and more that people really want to do business with people. People really trust other people, right? And so there are situations where I feel like it's better to actually write something yourself, even if it's not perfect. And there are tons of people who might disagree with me on that. So in the case of a cover letter, personally, I would write it myself, even if I felt that AI could do a better job. Another thing you could do if you're really struggling to write the cover letter is you could ask AI to write a cover letter and tell it what you want, read it, and then put it away for a few days and then rewrite it again in your own words. That might be kind of a nice way, like where you sort of were inspired by the AI content, but you're actually writing your own cover letter. And I know this is a huge area of debate among people because, people will ask me, oh, what do you think about writing a novel using AI? And I'll say, well, that's a copyright issue. You might not get copyright on your novel, but I like to think that people read books written by other people, not read books written by robots, right? So I think you really have to be intentional about that. Um, and also realize, when you're doing business or when you're in business, oftentimes it's about building trust. And, the expectation is that oftentimes in your work, it's not going to be done, like particularly with something like a cover letter, like it was written by you, not a bot. I did read a really fascinating article a while back, and it was a guy who was in the software engineering world, and he had developed a program that would write cover letters for him, and it would write cover letters for him for like different industries or like different areas. And so he actually said that in his cover letter. He said, "I'm writing this cover letter to you, and I programmed this bot to write the cover letter." And so he was kind of using it as a way to market himself. And he sent out like 200 of these cover letters. So I've definitely, have heard kind of cool, interesting stories like that. But again, I think it's really up to you. Like you know your industry, what would be appropriate.
And I just want to thank Jennifer for being here today and presenting a wonderful discussion about AI and tools. And I want to thank everyone for sharing your questions. And I hope you all join us for our next presentation in our series. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you, Jennifer, again, and
Well, thank
have a good
you.
day.
Thank you all so much. This has been really wonderful.